All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City Council meeting of Monday, February 5th. Hope everybody's having a good, I guess it's not technically spring, but almost. Our days are getting longer, so we will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, and we'll declare the meeting open. I'm going to ask our Deputy Mayor, Sean Tiemann, if he'll lead us in the pledge and invocation.
You would stand with me for the pledge? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you would bow your heads with me. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, God, Lord, thank you for giving us this day. Thank you for bringing everyone here safely, Lord. And I just pray that you are with us as we make decisions on behalf of the citizens of Sherman, Lord. Lord, I pray that you lead, guide, and direct us in everything that we do, and that you are with our first responders and all of our city staff as they do their jobs and carry out their duties. I pray all these things in your most holy name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All right, Council, we have some minutes to approve. Minutes of the regular City Council meeting of January 16th, 2024. Did everybody have an opportunity to review those?
Move to approve.
Second. Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Council. All right, I'm kind of ringing here, but we'll continue on. At this time, we're to citizen comments. Is there anyone here? Maybe if I scoot back. Is there anyone here to comment about any item on the agenda this evening? Okay, this isn't the public hearing part yet. If you're here to talk about one of the items on public hearing. But if you do have comments for the city, please come. You can come.
No, if it's in regards to one of the items on.
Okay, perfect. Anybody else? Okay. All right. We are to the consent agenda. These items are considered to be routine and will be enacted in one motion without discussion unless a council member or citizen requests a specific item be discussed and voted on separately. We've had a request to remove I-2 from consent to talk about that separately. So that would leave I-1 and J2.
Move to approve consent.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, so we've got a proclamation today. Good afternoon, Greg. You want to come forward? So I'm going to let Greg talk about this, but we do have a proclamation for United Acts of Kindness Day. And I know you guys know First United Bank has been instrumental in making this part of what we do, and we've actually issued a proclamation. So I'm going to read that. If you'll just kind of give a little brief background on it. All right. Proclamation, whereas in 2021, First United Bank in Dallas sponsored the first United Acts of Kindness Day to spread kindness throughout the community and had a goal to complete 10,000 acts of kindness in one day. And whereas this has now become an annual event, the First United Banks throughout Texas and Oklahoma have joined with their community partners and valued customers to spread joy, hope, and love to friends, family, coworkers, and neighbors. Whereas in 2024, the goal is to complete 350,000 acts of kindness, which could be as simple as buying someone a cup of coffee, hugging someone to show you care, and whereas through the generosity of citizens, community leaders, churches, nonprofits, and businesses, we can be a light of hope in a world that may often feel like darkness. Now, therefore, I, David Plyler, Mayor of the City of Sherman, Texas, by the authority vested in me, do hereby proclaim February 16, 2024, as United Acts of Kindness Day in the City of Sherman, and ask all citizens to join with First United Bank to spread joy, hope, and love throughout their community with random acts of kindness. So, Greg, I am going to give this proclamation. If you'll speak a little bit on what this means. Thank you.
Come back.
Oh, great.
Come back. Back. Shake his hand.
Okay.
So thank you to you, Mayor, and the rest of the city council. And I think the proclamation, I won't go into an over elaboration, but this United Acts of Kindness is basically an offshoot of the term everyone's heard, random acts of kindness. And it's really, a lot of these things that we do, we should be doing as humans on a daily basis. But we've come up with this event every February, basically as a reminder to people to open a door for somebody, say hello to somebody. You don't know what kind of day somebody's having. And as a furtherance of that, the bankers that work for First United make that day one that we have clothing drives, may go to a local store and buy groceries on behalf of somebody in line. Just any little thing, basically to spread a little happiness and kindness. And we would hope that by us having this day, that it might encourage somebody else to do likewise. So
Fantastic.
appreciate it.
Well, thank you. And thank you to the entire staff at First United. Thanks. All right. So at this time, we'll receive a presentation from Leadership Sherman's class of 2024. Is Eddie here today?
Just get the team.
So we get the team? All right, team. Terry, are you part of the team?
I am part of the team this year.
Leader of the
Well,
team. We
no,
got
don't.
team leader.
What do you know?
Team leader.
There we go.
So I actually have, because I'm in charge of the PowerPoint, I have a slide. Hey, good job, Trevor. So this year, the 2024 Sherman Leadership Group is, sorry, I'm not used to speaking in front of people, but they are, for their community service project, they have chosen to, or we have chosen to work with North Texas Youth Connection. They serve runaways, homeless, and street youth and their families. They provide temporary housing for those individuals until they can find them a more stabilized home life. They've been around for over 40 years in the same building. Most people don't know that it exists in Sherman. And well, their building is starting to show that they have been around, because I think the building has been around
Longer than that.
Since
since
the
the Salvation Army owned
Yeah.
it. So these are the bathrooms that the children are currently using. So these are not temporary bathrooms. They are permanent bathrooms that they use day in, day out. So we have chosen as our project to renovate those bathrooms to serve as more than just the function of a bathroom. So we want to make them a little bit more stylish for them. And it's hard to tell in these, but there's no storage. So if you can imagine a teenage girl that has no storage in a bathroom, it can be a nightmare. And right now, I think they only have one girl in the home, but if they had, I think they can serve up to, 4 or 5 at a time. That could be quite chaotic. So the original quote that they had received for those bathrooms was $15,000 to renovate both of them on the boys and girls side. And we believe we can get a lower estimate through donations, labor donations, and supplies as well. But that's kind of what we're shooting for, because like we said, this is just one part of the building that does need assistance. So as an act of kindness, we are going to be looking for donations. We've got a QR code set up. I did not put it up there. I'm sorry. I did not.
It's not working yet?
Oh, okay. Well, I'm glad I didn't put it up there.
Yeah, we're still working with Renee to get that fixed, so.
But we will have the QR code. We probably will be reaching out to a lot of business owners and some, that may have access to paint, because they do need to paint some of the rooms as well. Just saying. So they've got a lot going on. So this is what we have chosen to do, but in the grand scheme, we're also trying to draw awareness to their needs, because they don't do any of their own fundraising, and they like I said, there's a lot of people are not even aware that they exist. So, and they do a lot of good for these kids.
Yeah.
So,
All right, very good.
Yeah,
And we'll get the QR code in the
well,
next week or
I
two.
will share the QR code with all of you guys once we get it up and running. Their website is kind of in limbo right now, so don't go to their website. It's
We were
Oh.
working
Okay.
on that as well.
so, yeah,
Yes.
we're trying to help her out with all the resources we have. Help her out, get that back
Sure.
in order as well.
Perfect.
Is there any way you can donate like the labor, you know?
Yes.
Yes.
We would love that. Actually,
I think-
Jason is our contact for contractors, so his phone number's up there.
And I think they have a separate kind of program going on from us of like an adopt a room where you can go in and pick, because they've got like the counseling room, they're kind of in gym, that you can adopt that room and repaint it and kind of like remodel of each rooms too. So they have other programs
They
that
have a lot of needs. This is just the one that we saw that we picked.
So-
We were going to repaint the whole building, and we went, well, maybe the bathrooms. We need to start there. So
it was kind of the greatest, that one that we saw.
Yeah.
It's hard to really convey in the pictures, but I mean, you wouldn't want to go in there barefoot. And we're asking the children to get, yeah.
I currently have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and if they were ever to live in these conditions, I would not be acceptable to that. So that's what we're going for. That's our goal. So my number's listed. If any of y'all, by any means, have any ways of contacting people that are willing to donate time or funds to this cause, then we would love to hear from you. I'm acceptable any day of the year. So you're more than welcome to get in contact with me and provide any information that you'd have. It'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank y'all.
any other questions? No.
Thank you.
Thank
Sounds
you.
good. Congratulations.
It's great. Very worthwhile cause.
All right. All right. At this time, we'll open public hearing. Linda, will you read F1 for us, please?
Public hearing for the reauthorization of the industrial and commercial tax abatement program to promote development, redevelopment in certain areas of the city.
Great. Thank you, Linda. Mary?
Yes, this public hearing goes with H8, which is a resolution that's later in the agenda. The tax code requires renewal of a city's tax abatement program every 2 years in a public hearing. This renewal, it's largely unchanged from the previous policy. Some wording has been changed to more closely align with the tax code, and we've clarified some items for the applicant.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone here to speak regarding this item this evening? Okay. If not, Linda, if you'll read F2 and F3 together, please.
Ordinance 6689, to introduce, hold a public hearing, and consider adoption of the annexation ordinance that extends the city of Sherman's corporate limits so as to annex approximately 220.18 acres of land located west of FM 1417 Heritage Parkway and north of O.B. Groner Road, adjacent to the Sherman city limits and in the city of Sherman's extraterritorial jurisdiction, in accordance with state law and the city charter. Ordinance 6690, consideration of a zone change for 220.18 acres of land located in the 3000 block west of O.B. Groner Road and the 4500 block of West Park Avenue from an R4 residential agricultural district to a PD planned development district.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, Mayor Council, this item is to deal with a zone change request, and it's from an RA if the annexation is approved to a planned development district. Since this is not within the city limits, before council can take action on any action on the zoning item, the annexation would need to be approved in advance of that. We would ask that these two items be taken together, either for approval or for denial. We've been working with this, staff has been working with this developer for almost a year in coming up with a good development plan at this location. It is located on the corner off of O.B. Groner between 1417 and the Rolling Hills neighborhood, Western Acres. They originally brought their application for the 220 acres of mixed-use development to P&Z in November of 2023. That item was tabled at that time. They brought to address some changes and comments from P&Z. They brought it back in December with those comments addressed. In the December meeting, P&Z voted to deny 5-2. On December 21st, the applicants requested to appeal that decision to council, and we are here now with you all for that appeal. Because it's an appeal of a decision that was denied by P&Z, it does require an affirmative vote of 6 members of the council to overturn that vote. Also, there was a petition by the residents that of over 20% in opposition to it. That would also require that affirmative vote of 6 council members. So those 2 things are important for this item.
Okay.
As I mentioned, we've been working closely with the developer. We actually had a neighborhood meeting in January that the developer hosted and went over the proposed plan with the surrounding neighbors. The impact fee of this project would gather about $5.5 million in funds to help build things like OB Groner and sewer lines and water lines that would need to be extended for this project. One of the things that impressed us as staff is that we meet with a lot of developers, and this developer came to us not wanting to do the bare minimum, but wanted to create a great community, a great neighborhood, and that's why we proceeded as staff to keep working with them. So at this time, I'll turn the time over to Rick Leisner and Shakir for a presentation regarding this this development proposal.
Thank you, Ron.
The mouse and keyboard can advance the slides. The arrow keys? Use the arrow keys on the power.
Of course.
Yep, green light. Yep.
Excuse me. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for this opportunity to present the Greenway PD. We've had some excellent meetings with planning and zoning. We've also had some wonderful meetings with the neighborhood adjacent, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here in front of you all tonight. My name is Rick Leisner. I'm a landscape architect and a planner with Norris Design. We're based out of Dallas, Texas. We do an extensive amount of development planning. We also do a lot of public sector planning and design. With me tonight also is Shakir. He's the president of Flato Development. And I would like Shakir to talk a little bit, if you would, about Flato Development and your community building that you've done. Great.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members and staff members. First of all, I would like to thank everybody at the City of Sherman for welcoming us and for working with us. Since our first meeting, we have always felt that the city is open to listen to us and to work with us. It's been a very positive discussion and experience we've had with the city staff and with everybody we've met. We were able to meet a few of the councilors as well. I would also like to thank all the residents who are here for our item on this agenda tonight. We are here to work with the community. At Flato Developments, that's what we believe in. We don't call ourselves developers. We don't call ourselves home builders. We call ourselves community builders because we build communities. We work with the communities where we work, and we take great pride in getting involved in the communities where we work. And that's why we have taken the steps. I believe we have listened to all the comments which were raised in the public information session, and I think we have done our best to address to all the comments. Wherever possible, we have made all the changes, and once we're here requesting for your support to get this plan approved. God willing, once this is approved, we're not going anywhere. We are here to work with the city. We're here to stay. We are going to continue working with the city and with the residents. So even after this plan is approved, if there's something that has to be done or something needs to be modified, I'm giving you my word that we are going to be here. We're going to work with the city. That's what we believe in, and that's why we've hired the right team to help us through this. I think this is a great opportunity. Just a few things I would just like to highlight is there's a big area on the property of approximately 37 acres, consisting of a lot of large trees and mature trees. So we are protecting all their trees. We never came up with the idea of even chopping down one tree. We actually believe that having the tree line and having those mature trees is a huge asset to the property, and we're utilizing it. We're putting 2 parks beside the green space as well, because when the families will be living there, they will be able to see the green space and the park beside the green space. I think that's going to add a lot of value to the development and to the community. We are addressing all the comments. We respect the residents who are immediately beside the parcel. We have added a 20-foot buffer. Within that buffer, we are going to plant trees. We're willing to work with the residents and the infrastructure. I believe the residents beside us, they're looking for the sewage pipe in their properties. So what we can do is we can upsize the sewers within our development to accommodate the sewers, and we can be good neighbors, and we can leave a stub onto their property line and where the road ends within our property, and they can extend it. So we're willing to work with the city. We have made all the changes. Every comment that we have received, we have responded to them. I also heard a comment about we're going to have 5-story buildings. Right away, I asked what would be a fair height of buildings that would be welcomed by the city of Sherman. I heard 4. I said fine. We agree with the 4. I also heard a comment about having no commercial at all. If that's really what the city wants, we're going to agree to it. But in my opinion, I think we should have some commercial the way it's shown, because people would need to go to coffee shops, to restaurants, to pick up groceries and stuff like that. So I think having some commercial would be needed. The road extensions, anything else, basically we've been asked by the city. We're willing to work with the city. OB Groner Road has to be extended and has to be widened. We are going to work with the city on that. And if there's anything else, I'm here to listen to the community. I'm here to listen to the council members. I'm here to listen to the mayor, to the staff members. Please let us know what we can do, how we can work together. We just don't want to get an approval tonight. We want to get a friendship with the city, with the residents, so that once this plan is approved, we're friends, we work together. We are all one team. It's not like this is the developer, this is the resident, and how we can get things done. No, we are one team. We want to get something done right. Eventually, the parcel is going to develop. The land is going to develop. Somebody is going to come and do something over there. I think this is an opportunity for all of us to work together. Once again, I thank the residents for being here. And we have made our time to be here. We're looking to work with everybody. If there's any comments, I'm more than happy to answer. Once again, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor and council members and staff members, for giving us this opportunity to come in front of you. But I think this is an opportunity. You have someone in front of you who's willing to work with the city to make this development a good development. Thank you. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have any. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir. I'm just going to go right ahead and walk through some of the high points of the plan, and we're very much willing to answer any questions when they might be. Of course, Flato Development, as Secure mentioned, is not just a developer; they're a community builder. They're involved in significant developments up in the Greater Toronto area. These are both residential and commercial in size. Their construction quality is quite substantial. They are involved in the development of the residences, both interior and exterior, and making sure that they are what the residents are most interested in. Sherman has been blessed with great opportunities for growth. That is part of the response of why this plan is tailored to Sherman. Excuse me, got to use the arrow keys. The proposed development up along the Red River, the Preston Harbor development, where there's roughly 3,000 acres with 7,500 homes. Again, an opportunity showing the type of growth and opportunity that is here within the county and also within the city of Sherman. Point Vista Holdings, they're roughly doing a 2,800 acre development, Hard Rock Hotel and casino component. Most likely, of course, that's going to be on the Oklahoma side of the lake, but again, showing the activity and the economic development that is happening within the region, the growth, and of course, we can't talk about growth within Sherman and the county without talking about Texas Instrument. The 3,000 new jobs here within the city, adjacent to the city. So these are the types of families the types of individuals that we're very much excited about to be here living within our project. The Greenway PD itself, let's talk about some of the specifics. As Secure mentioned, we've been involved in modifying the components in the plan throughout the process at every level. This is basically the development plan as it exists. There's 3 guiding principles. Pedestrian walkability is first and foremost. Again, try not to maximize trips with automobiles, but allowing people the ability to utilize the sidewalks on the streets and also that significant area of nature. Nature and that preservation is extremely important. As Secure mentioned, we're preserving all 100% of the existing mature trees in that creek that runs through the center, a little bit over 37 acres. And again, the third area is the residential and commercial villages. In essence, the core of the community is kind of considered what you might say is a walkable town center. These types of town centers are springing up throughout North Texas and everything. Walkable, a range of residential densities and lifestyles. The mature trees. We've had the opportunity to walk this area. Can't say enough about the beauty and the nature that is there. Preservation of those is vitally, it's the core of what we're wanting to do. We would like the ability to improve and put some pedestrian trails and pedestrian benches within that area. And again, we would feel that that would be a portion of the city's hike and bike trail that we would like to eventually be able to connect into. 37.3 acres is roughly that area. Of course, we've been able to move the multifamily components of the project over on the southern side of this graphic, which is the eastern side of the plan. North is actually to the right. We feel that will provide those existing trees, provide a significant buffer visually from the Rolling Hills neighborhood. We've also added that 20-foot landscape easement and wanting to plant trees that are irrigated along that easement there adjacent to Rolling Hills. This is a quick cross section of that landscape buffer. Again, it started out smaller than 20 feet. At one time it was 10 feet, it was 15 feet, now it's 20 feet. We're very happy with that. There's no pedestrian trails through that area. That's just a natural area that we will be mowed and maintained. And again, the trees will be planted. They'll be both deciduous and evergreen in character. And again, they as they mature, they will become even a more significant buffer between the existing neighborhood and our community. There's a residential and commercial side of this community. Again, there's a range of single-family detached lots, a couple of varying townhouse components, mixed-use development, and multifamily. And as Secure mentioned, maximum height has been brought down to 4 stories. Clearly on that eastern side of the development, on the other side of the mature trees. The commercial development, again, neighborhood serving commercial, 1 story. Just to take a look at some of that multifamily development, again, these are prototypical type of images, but again, it's built and our desire is that it would be a more walkable pattern development to where they're up kind of close to the street, promoting a strong streetscape environment along the public streets with all the amenity components, the pools within the development, and parking also will be enclosed within the development and not at view for the outside. The earlier phases of the development would be initially proposed. Our thoughts are that they'll be along Obie Groner. We've kind of highlighted them in the green circles there and everything, kind of phase 1A, phase 2. Again, the timing of those and everything are all tied to the success and our ability to get utilities and work, of course, on the widening of Obie Groner and providing that access. Some of the modifications that have been made to date, we've listed those 8. I'll just jot them down. All lots next to the Rolling Hills development, we've moved to being 60 feet minimum wide. The landscape buffers, 20 foot as proposed with trees planted within that area and irrigated. The neighbors in our meeting we had with them They wanted to make sure that all the existing trees along their fence line would be preserved and saved. We think that would be important. We'd like to save those. So we're going to save them. All we've modified from some of our discussions we've had with staff and council members to where all lots adjacent to Rolling Hills are that 60-foot lots and will have a 25-foot rear setback. So we've made that modification. Again, as mentioned, multifamily and mixed use will be a maximum of 4 stories in height. All townhouses to be 25 feet wide. We've modified that. And as Secure also mentioned, we're going to design our sewer system to accommodate a full flow from the neighborhood of Rolling Hills and provide that stub out right on the property line to allow them the ability to go from septic to sewer. And lastly, we will conduct a drainage study to make sure that we have opportunities to increase the surface flow into our community and to alleviate and remedy the surface flooding that's happening over in the Western Hills area. Rolling Hills area, excuse me, so sorry. Some of the attributes that we've just mentioned, again, saving over 37 acres of mature trees, we feel that's highly important. We're clearly going to share in the infrastructure cost as mentioned earlier by Rob. Thank you, Rob, for mentioning that. We're very much wanting to help on citywide mobility with Obie Groner and Parks Avenue, as we're showing within our plan. We have a variety of quality housing types and styles, and we're also wanting to provide that core network of pedestrian trails within the community as it would link into this. We appreciate this opportunity. Thank you for your time, and we're more than happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. We'll get with you in just a few moments.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else here to speak regarding this item? Okay, yeah, come on. Would ask that you keep your comments reasonably brief.
It's be very brief.
Okay.
Thank all y'all. One of the things after the meeting on the 25th that we had some concerns with, talked to a couple of the neighbors, was the 2-story houses backing up to the property line, houses that back up to the Rolling Hills. And
Sir, can you give them your name?
sorry, I'm David.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Name and address.
Yeah, name and address.
Yeah, David, what's your address?
Oh my God, 701 Rolling Hills. Golly. I had a time limit before I passed out. One of the things that would like to be considered would be having only single stories along the road where our existing houses are. It's a little bit of a transition for us from looking out over a field to a row of 2-story houses right at our back property line. So one of the things Secure said was about the commercial, brought that up, and it sounded like it could go either way. Consider that was one of the things that was an issue too, was the commercial being there in our backyard. So if that's something that could be taken off the table, that would be nice too. I want to thank all y'all. Through this whole process, everybody at the city, the staff has been phenomenal. They directing the right people to talk to. So anyway, I appreciate all y'all. That's it.
Thank you.
Thanks, David. And Mr. Spindle. David, we actually do need your address for the record. I mean, it's routine.
South Rolling Hills.
Did you get that?
1701?
2701.
2701.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Steve Harris, Stephen, PH. Live on 2401 Friendship Road, on the corner of Rolling Hills and Friendship Road. I'm here to support our community of the easement that they have is 20 feet. But if you build something that's higher than single-story homes like most of these folks have, those folks gonna be looking in their backyard, and they could be able to see, those buildings gonna be higher than the trees. We don't want that. They don't want that, and it's just the view of it. Most of these people paid for their homes out there to have the view that they have. In the evening time, you should come out there and see it. In the morning time, you should come out there and see it. When you put buildings up like that, you're gonna ruin people's day. You know what I mean? So consider having their proposals of having their homes that, at least on the line that there be single family homes or a single story. Beyond that, going towards the high school, you can build them as high as you want to. But they shouldn't be, that it evade somebody's privacy. Because that's why people bought homes out there. Because they like their privacy. And these folks they open, but they're private too. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Harris. Okay, anyone else? Okay.
Patricia Davis, 2609 Valley Ridge. I have just a few questions for the city. On Shakir's drawing that he has, one of the questions I got talking to people at Setting Suns, or I think it's Setting Sun, Park Avenue comes through not where Park Avenue is now. And they wanted to know, and Shakir has his development set up at an intersection of Park and Pentel, what looks to be Pentel, where it's going out on the north side. So the people at Setting Sun were saying, okay, that doesn't make sense because that's not where Park is now. So, and they also have major drainage issues down on this end where it's butting up against the property. So even though we're talking about drainage for Rolling Hills, the Setting Sun also needs to be considered. Okay, if the city could clarify where Park's going to be coming or where it's going to go and where they're going to exit on the north side. Because you can't go through Pentel, you can't go through a neighborhood street. So does anybody have an answer to that, or is that city manager who lays out the roads and how it's going to be?
It is certainly not city manager.
It's
I have a very capable staff of engineers and planners who would look at that, but maybe they can speak, Rob or Clint or Wayne or somebody to the.
I can speak for that for the engineering department. So we have a thoroughfare plan map, and originally Park Street was set to go where Setting Suns is. Park is planned to be a minor arterial, which is 4 lanes with the median.
Right.
And staff, in looking at it, didn't think that where Park currently exists through Setting Suns needed to be 4 lanes with a median because there are residential driveways off of it.
Correct.
So we relocated that to this location, and they've actually adjusted their plan to include the new alignment of Park Street.
What about the exit at Pentel? Is that going to be?
It will be tied into Pentel, but Park Street will extend to the east to connect where Park goes into Pebblebrook at 1417.
Well, yes, I knew about it coming.
And then
out,
it'll connect to
Park will come out
Friendship,
to
which Friendship ultimately will be 4 lanes with a median as well.
All right, so Park as we know it right now is the park that's Setting Sun is going to remain the residential street.
Correct.
And this is going to be moved in a new park.
Correct.
It's going to be made.
Yes.
Do you know how far back to the south you're going to come with
it looks probably about 400 feet.
So not
that
too
alignment
terribly
is where
far?
where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, that's where it's going to go. That alignment, they made the adjustment on the site plan based on our thoroughfare plan recommendations. Okay. And we have an alignment study that has been done on Friendship Road from O.B. Groner all the way to 56, okay, as well as that intersection Park, because we knew we needed to figure out where exactly that was going to go, right, and make sure that it could be engineered and built appropriately, right, before we made people change their plans to align with that.
Okay. Another thing, and it hasn't been mentioned, Ron, and I've noticed that even tonight when we were discussing things, P&Z made a recommendation to the city council, and the recommendation was the buffer. They were recommending 25. Shakira's come up and done 20. The other thing that P&Z recommended, and we all say all the way around, if you're butting up to a house, an established house or residence, make them the same. If it's a single story, put a single story there. They don't want to have people looking down. So that has not been brought up, but that has been P&Z's recommendation, and also the neighborhoods and the neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Doug Garrett. I live at 4700 Park. I had a question about that drainage ditch. They say that they're going to leave all of that. We already have enough problems. The city come out and put a concrete slab in. At the end of that slab, they put some blocks to deter erosion. Water that we have now can't get out. And so are they going to be draining water into this drainage? There's no storm water going to be running into that ditch that's there. See all the green part?
It drains to the
Everything
south,
drains.
right?
Everything drains to the south towards OB Grona Road.
So this is already can't handle what's going in it. Or who's going to be responsible for cleaning it out and maintaining it?
That'll be part of the drainage study that they'll have to provide to show what the capacity of the area is and whether it can be handled and whether it needs to be engineered. And who owns and maintains it? I don't know if that's in the PD, whether it's HOA maintained.
Will it be a
or
drainage
dedicated.
easement through there?
Potentially, yes.
So what we're asking is that are they going to clean it out where it will drain? That's my question.
Yes.
It will be cleaned out and drained.
It will be cleaned out. I don't know if what they're doing will be able to help mitigate upstream flooding. They can only control.
We just want it to drain. It comes past those blocks, it hits that, it stops because there's so much tree limbs and junk, and it's just junk. I mean, it won't drain. And so that is our question is.
There's a balance. You want to save trees, but you also want to remove
Right, I understand
trees
you want to save trees,
so
but
that
you
it'll
need.
drain. So that'll be something we'll have to look at from the drainage analysis to see what can be done to make sure that they don't cause any adverse impact to both north development and actually northeast and west development has drainage going to it.
Okay. And then where park, it shows park right there beside the yellow part with an arrow going out. I mean, not park, but whatever that road is. It's going to cross park, the current residential park.
No.
No, the existing park is up here. This is the east-west park where it would go west and connect to Friendship.
Okay.
And this north-south goes to Pintail.
Okay, but that's going to be park. I live right there at the corner where that ditch comes into that part of the land.
Yeah. Your house right here?
Yes, sir.
Setting suns will not connect to this development.
Okay, so the park that's there, it's just a U-turn.
It'll be a cul-de-sac, yeah.
Oh, it's not going to be a fit.
No, we did not want, when that subdivision was built, you've got probably 15 to 20 residential driveways that go onto it. And our current standard is with minor thoroughfares, we don't have any residential driveways because it's dangerous to have residents trying to back out onto a 4-lane median divided road. So we realigned it to the south
and then
to make that work.
Talking about this 20-foot buffer or barrier or whatever they're talking about. Is there going to be a wall, a fence of some sort to separate those so people can just walk out of their yard into ours?
No, that's not the intent. The intent that the private property lots will be 20 feet deeper than that, and that would just be preserved as a natural area that wouldn't be used and wouldn't be able to be built upon. because it would be an
but what I'm
HOA.
saying is
In their
people just-
backyards, they will have fences.
There'll be a barrier,
They will have fences.
there'll be a barrier between us. They
Right.
can't just walk out of their yard.
But that 20-foot buffer is not part of the individual platted lots.
Right. It will be between your fence and their fence will be a 20-foot
I see.
buffer.
Yep.
Thank you very much for your time.
All right,
You're welcome.
And if you don't mind, on the drainage issues that we've heard from both the Setting Suns and Rolling Hills neighborhoods, staff's opinion is that development of this property, whether it's this development or another property, will, since it's downstream from those two developments, will improve drainage in that area for those neighborhoods, since they are downstream. So it is our opinion that development will most likely help those situations that are currently being faced out there.
Okay, anyone else?
Hello, my name is Wes Stone. I'm a commercial realtor with KW Commercial. I actually represented the landowner that sold the property to Flato Development. I was privileged to be able to access the property over the past 4 years. The landowner allowed me to hunt. I really enjoyed going out there along that creek corridor and everything. One thing that impressed me so much with Flato Development, when they come to look at the property, Shakir and Regenda both talked about how aesthetically beautiful the whole area was and how they could use that to create a premium development community for Sherman. And they really wanted to put their thoughts and their ideas into a planned development. And I was very impressed with the ideals that they had. They wanted to develop that creek corridor in a way to keep as much natural beauty there, but for the residents of that development, plus residents of the surrounding community, can enjoy that area also. Whereas right now, unless you have private privileges to go on there, nobody can appreciate the beauty that's out there. Thank you.
Thanks, Wes.
All right, anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
My name is Dorothy Schmoker. I live at 2516 Rolling Hills Drive, right across the road from the people who are going to have the subdivision behind them. I've lived there for about 45 years. So I do know the area, and I do appreciate the area. And I appreciate Sherman, or I wouldn't have stayed here. My husband and I have been here. We've raised a family here, and we love Sherman. And we're glad that we're having the other developments, and we'll have, and we need housing, obviously. But we also need to consider as a city, not just greenways, okay? Greenways are for people. Now, I wasn't privileged to be able to come to the planning and zoning meeting. We were out of town I had a sick family member. And it's probably already been brought up. That is really, really hard on the environment of the wildlife that live around that area. Greenways are for people. Trails are for people. When you take that away from the creek area, because a lot of it's already been taken away, our subdivision really didn't have much impact on the creek. O.B. Groners had the bridge across there and redone and all this, but our subdivision still allowed for the wildlife in the area, the deer, the rabbits, the squirrels. Now, how much does that weigh against development in the city? You know, more housing for people. I think as a Sherman person that's been here probably as long or longer than some of y'all, that we need to continue to consider that and leave that space. Make it, you know, partially one side for a creek or whatever. But, and I may be too late in this proposition right now to even express this, but the people who live on Rolling Hills Drive love that area. No, we can't go out and get in the creek without permission and things like that. If you make trails around it, trails are for people and they can enjoy. That's why we have trails in Baker Park, which is a very nice place. I've seen that developed and it's nice. We have parks. I just feel like we're destroying a lot of nature and a good part of Sherman by this development. I'm not dissing any of the programs or that they would be, that they're improper or that they're substandard. I just think that this is not the place for that. I think we need to consider a little bit more of the actual wildlife. Why do you think we have bobcat sightings in Pebblebrook? Coyotes that get ran over the road on Friendship Road and other places because we're destroying their habitat. So in essence, I understand. I love God and I love people, and I understand that we're on a hierarchy above the animals, but we have to live. We have to conserve our natural environment. We can't just keep destroying it. And I thank y'all for listening to me.
Thank you, Ms. Smoker.
Thank you,
Appreciate
ma'am.
it. All right. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm Janie Sieber. I live at 2503 South Rolling Hills Drive. I've come to the city numerous times to talk about the drainage problems we have out there. I live right at the corner of County Lane and Rolling Hills. County Lane is flat, and so they've got little ditches on the sides. The road's flat. It doesn't get the water down in the ditches. So the water comes right down my driveway, washes all the gravel that I've paid 4 times now in 12 years to replace, and goes right on down through the yard, down everyone's backyard out there. I've talked to the city numerous times about getting this problem fixed. If you'll go to the next subdivision up, the Park Avenue subdivision, you can see where they put mega dips in the road trying to get the water to drain right. A few years back, the house that was right down on the drainage creek flooded with 3 feet of water inside it. I don't think there's a house along that road there that has not had water in it at some time or another. Now, depending on what kind of fence they're going to put up, is this fence going to block this natural flow of water coming down there? You know, if it's a privacy fence, the wood will block it. If it's a brick fence, that'll block it. You know, I really wouldn't like a chain link fence where I'm looking in somebody else's backyard, and I plan on going inside my fence and planting me a good, nice barrier too, where I won't be looking at them. But anyway, all of that's going to back that water back up on us unless something is drastically done. They go to level these back here behind us, build it up to level it to build these houses, and the water's going to hit that spot and stop. So I think we need more than a study. We need some action out there, because it's an ongoing problem that I've been in that house for since 2009 now, and every year the backyard floods and water stays there for months. We got 5/8 of an inch of rain this weekend, and water's running out my backyard.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sieber.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. We will move along. Linda, if you'll read F4 for us, please.
Ordinance 6691, consideration of an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sherman, Texas, Chapter 3, Building Regulations and Appendix C, Comprehensive Fee Schedule.
Okay. Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Yeah, this item we staff presented to you at the last council meeting, gave you a primer of what we're proposing. Larry Bollier, our building official, and Dylan, fire marshal, helped present that. We have a couple slides. Mayor,
Sir.
if we could share those.
Please.
With updates or changes since last time. Yeah, and if you would advance the next slide. This recommended change that you have in front of you, this ordinance is an update to the adopted codes, which we're currently in 2018. We're recommending to move to the 2021 building and fire codes and 2023 for electrical. Most of our peer cities have moved to this the last calendar year. So we're being consistent with them. We want the contractors, when they're working in City of Sherman, to be consistent with what they're used to working in other cities in the area. This proposal would also recommend to adopt the 2021 Property Maintenance Code and adopt a residential rental property license and standards program, and to increase the building permits fees. Next slide. On the Property Maintenance Code, after discussions internally, we do recommend removing 2 of the sections from the Property Maintenance Code. And this is regarding to protective treatment of exterior and interior surfaces, essentially saying that if there's paint or on the inside or the exterior that needs to be repaired, that we would not enforce that. We don't want to get nitpicky as staff, and we just don't have the time to enforce that. So we're recommending to remove that. This is not in the ordinance in front of you, so if council does want to approve this ordinance, we would recommend a motion that would include removal of these 2 items. Next slide. The residential rental property regulations would apply to all single-family and multifamily properties in the city of Sherman. We currently are challenged with property owners that are not keeping their properties up to standard, and this is affecting the tenants that live there and reside there. We do find that this happens in multifamily apartment complexes as well as single family, although if council would desire to split off single family separate from multifamily, that could occur in a motion. But staff would be looking at enforcing this ordinance to make sure that all the rental properties are at a level playing field, and that all the tenants in the city of Sherman have minimum qualifications for homes. Next slide. And the last one is building regulation fees. We showed this table at the last meeting. Essentially, our proposal is to increase from 30 cents per square foot to 50 cents per square foot for our building permit fees. That is still less than a lot of our peer cities that we compared to. The other thing that was added, the last row on here, is the residential rental property license fee. We're recommending $10 per unit across the board, whether it's single family or multifamily. And we put some comparison cities of what they're charging that is significantly less to what other cities are charging for similar programs. And then the last slide is just our recommendation. Staff recommends approval of this with the recommended to delete those 2 sections in the Property Maintenance Code. If you have any questions, both Larry and Dylan are here to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Thank you, Rob. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Kyle Weiser. My address is 1820 North Rickett Street. I am here representing Southwest Management. We're a property management company located here in Sherman. I represent slightly under 100 property owners, and in Sherman alone, we manage over 200 units. The reason I wanted to step forward today is because I wanted to share some perspective from the property management side of things. First, I will acknowledge that there are absolutely slumlords out there, not going to pull any punches. And there are definitely properties that are in need of some sort of check and balance system in order to ensure that those who are renting these properties are taken care of. There is a 1,000+ page Texas property code that outlines a lot of this, as well as remedies that can be taken. There is an innumerable amount of documentation from the Texas Real Estate Commission regarding any licensee who is involved in this. And speaking of which, I failed to mention this, I am a licensed Texas real estate broker. license number 631167 if you care to confirm. Like I said, I just wanted to share some perspective from my end. I know that this had been tried to be passed in Denison a few years ago, and I have had several discussions with some of the property owners that I represent, and one of the largest concerns they have is financial. I know up there on the chart it said it was going to be a $10 charge per unit. Is this a $10 charge per year, regardless of number of inspections or anything like that? Is this a $10 charge per inspection? If an inspection takes place, what is the turnaround on this? If we file for an inspection, do we have to wait up to 14 days? Because this directly affects the amount of time that a property can be marketed or rented out. And, you know, if rent is $1,000 a month, 2 weeks off the market is a potential $500 out of the owner's pocket. And this has come in at the back end of, in the last 7 years, the county has tripled taxes for a good number of homeowners. And when you own multiple houses, because property management and renting property out is a business. But I have owners who, I had one just the other day call me. He has 12 rental houses. He said his taxes went up $20,000 last year. And so when additional costs are being discussed, it's a business. The more your costs increase, the more your charges have to increase. So across the board, like I have people, I take calls, I'm not going to say daily, but I have very regular calls where people contact me saying, hey, I've lived in this house 15 years. My rent's going up and I can't afford it anymore. What do you have? And I tell them what I have, and they're like, that's smaller than what I'm in, and the taxes or the rent's even higher than what I'm in. It's going to be more expensive for me to leave than it will be for me to stay, but I still can't afford to stay. So we're already looking at, like I said, dealing with the county blowing taxes up. That taxes go up, insurance goes up. Taxes and insurance goes up, rent goes up. More fees get imposed. Those are additional costs that may affect rent. And like I said, time kept off the market is, more time before income can continue coming into this property. And like I said, there are absolutely people in this industry that have caused this to even become an issue that has to be discussed. I'll be the first to acknowledge that. I deal with it constantly. I'm constantly contacted by people who say, hey, the house I knew is falling apart. What do I do? We've had some very high profile issues over the last few years in North Texas, such as Apex and all that. But there are avenues that can be taken that people just aren't aware that they can take. But if they do some searching online, they can find that there are things they can do when their landlord isn't doing their job. So this is largely a system that I think ends up being slightly redundant if people educate themselves. And unfortunately, being honest on that front, a lot of people in my position don't exactly extend the olive branch to ensure people are educated. But I do feel that this largely the immediate effect of this is going to be an increase in charges and rents to the renters. And with how high things have gone over the last few years because of the tax increases, I think that's the last thing we need. Otherwise, we're going to have people who just can't afford to live in Sherman anymore.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Yes, sir.
Richard Oglesby, 2415 Meadows Lane, Sherman. I do own rental property. I've owned rental property for 43 years in Sherman. I grew up in Sherman. I've been here all my life so far, not dead yet. I concur with what the previous speaker just said. My concern or my question is how far or what kind of inspections are you going to do on the rental property? I only have 8 rental properties and 1 commercial, and I work 24/7 keeping my properties up. I get good renters because I make them happy and keeping things up. I know we have some problems in the city. I don't mind the $10, but I would like to know to what extent. I comply with the state of Texas in landlord and tenant outlines. So I'm curious as to what you're going to inspect when you come to the properties.
Do you want us to answer this right now? Or do you want us to wait until later?
Yeah, we'll close public hearing and then discuss that.
Okay, because right now, under state law, I have to make sure the smoke alarms work when they move in. And after that, then it's their responsibility. If you're going to come in and look at things like that, then you'll get between me and my tenant. If you have to tell them, or you're going to tell them they have to replace it, or you're going to come back to me, because right now the state doesn't say it's my responsibility once they move in. It's theirs. So I would like to know what you're going to do along those lines. There are several things I heard Darren on the TVs when I heard this. He said, well, we got holes in the wall. Well, sometimes tenants cause holes in the wall, and it becomes their responsibility to fix them. State of Texas allows me some latitude that I don't have to fix everything. If it's caused by the tenant, then they become responsible. So again, it's the scope of what you're looking at. I have to look at the different types of door locks that I have to put on them. I have to have a special kind of bar across the patio windows. So I just need to know, I'd like to know what scope you're looking at. Is it just air conditioning and heating? I just spent the last 2 years, spent $24,000 changing out 3 air conditioners. So I guess what I'm saying, I really don't want you in my business to start with. Because I'm taking care of it. Mainly because I'm taking care of it. I know there's some out there, but you're putting people like me in the whole bucket with everybody else that's not doing their business.
Of course, Mr. Ogle.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Mr.
Appreciate
Overstreet. He does have good rental properties, by the way. I was a tenant about 30 years ago.
Does he owe you money?
Okay.
Well, hello, Wally.
How you doing, Mayor? City Council. My name is Wally Johnson. I live at 1602 Glenway Drive, and I am a landlord. And Kyle happens to be my property manager, and I'm here on behalf of me. The bottom line is I have personal standards. The house that I live in has to be a certain condition, livable, enough to where when I have my guests come in, they're proud of the fact that I live in a nice house. The standards I have for my house are the standards I have for my properties. And I recognize that unfortunately, there are slumlords out there. The thing is, this kind of falls in the category of 80-20. Where you may have a handful of landlords that don't care what kind of standards they have. But I'd venture to say, I would think that the majority of us have standards. So this is like a broad brush type of proposed city code. If there are issues, perhaps we should look at them with a scalpel, not a sledgehammer. From my perspective, I feel that this is more of a sledgehammer than a scalpel. There's got to be a better way of approaching the problems that do exist, because they do. But to have the rest of us fall in that category, I think it's an unfair policy or code that the council is considering. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Wally.
Thanks, Wally.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Good
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. My name is Joe Gage. I live at 1405 North Horton Street in Sherman, Texas, and I am a landlord. I have also previously ran a successful restaurant deli in this city for several years. Currently no longer. I retired from that. But I had an A1 score with that, and I do with my rental properties, in my opinion, and my renters, in that opinion, for them. Obviously, everything I agree with that has been said here already, I don't want to repeat. I'm not a public speaker, so I may touch on things that have already been mentioned. Put my glasses on here for one. Yes, again, there are slumlords and there are some who aren't. My tenants have been long-term. I am so far in behind where the fair market value of rent is now with the increases of taxes and insurance in the last 7 years. I am getting to a point there's no reason to keep these houses. I have to keep these houses, but I cannot throw these good people out on the street. They can't afford anything else. They're wonderful people. I'm doing my best to hold out for them. I too just replaced 3 air conditioners because they needed it. They weren't even dead. I am not somebody that I just get frustrated here because I understand why there's a need, but we are not all in that boat. And I also feel like, okay, if you're going to see that I'm the problem included in all that, what about the homes that you all live in and anybody else in the city of Sherman? I have houses next to my rentals with mattresses, destroyed condensing units, window units that all of a sudden popped in the house. These are home-owned houses that don't work for me to help bring down the value of my property. I've tried that, it doesn't work. But it's in reference to taxes. I keep mine up. I am not the only one that does that. Every one of my renters will tell you that I am a number one person. I take care of it as soon as they call. Even when they don't call me and I get aggravated, I still take care of it once they do let me know. I feel like this fee is just going to be one more thing that I can no longer afford anymore in justifying the houses. Not just the headache, but then where does it go from there? It starts out as $10 this year. It goes up every year $10. I can't even reflect this onto the tenant. I mean, I just can't do any more to these people that I have. And when I do finally get a $25 a year increase, they're so grateful because I take care of them. They know they can't afford it, but they know I take care of them. Any one of them would vouch for you. I can count them on my 2 hands, that many people, to say that some of us are doing our part. And,
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gage.
My name is Jenny Hampton, and for reasons I'm not legally required to disclose my address, but I do live here in Sherman, Texas. Okay. Currently, I am not a landlord. I have been a landlord in the past. Okay. And I want to ask all of our council members, if you don't mind, do all of you have low-income housing in your areas? We not know. Do you have low-income housing in the areas that you represent?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. Okay. Are they rental properties?
Some of them, most of them.
Okay. All right. My first concern is, I have a lot of them, but my first concern is this rental registration program at $10. It hasn't been made clear if that's $10 per door, that's $10 per year, is that $10 per every time somebody moves in and out, okay? I would like for the city to consider how much this program is going to cost the city to have employees, to drive around, to go do inspections. Every time somebody moves in or moves out, every time if it's a once a year program, so on and so forth. If we look at the amount of doors we have on just apartment communities alone,
We're not even talking about single family residences, multi. We're not even talking about 1 to 4 family duplexes, just apartment communities alone. I would like for somebody to tell us how many people the city's going to have to employ to go do these inspections on single family homes and apartment community doors every time somebody moves in and moves out. $10 is not going to cover it. How much is the city going to have to pay for this? $10 isn't going to come anywhere close to it, because you're going to have a staff of at least 20 or more to go find an apartment door every day, make sure it's accessible, and they're going to have to go into at least 5 a day to even start to cover all the doors that are out there. So I'm concerned about a financial point. 2, okay, we could up the cost of this to cover for this. Who do you think that the landlords are going to push this back onto? You think the landlords are going to incur this cost? The reason why I ask about low-income housing that we have out there is because landlords aren't going to incur this cost. We're not going to absorb it. We pass it right along to our tenants. So now we have tenants in low-income housing that might be a lot more cheaper or lesser than our standards that we want for our own home. And now we're saying, by the way, you're going to have more. It's more to rent now. The city is now putting this on you because it passes through. It passes through no matter what. So now we are putting more of a financial burden on lower income families. Period. Not just higher income, every one of them. Not one landlord has come up here and said, "Oh, I'm gonna suffer the burden of it. I'm just gonna eat it." Not one. Next, we have businesses. Many people have businesses. The rental property are businesses. Every time we have an uncontrollable, this is something that we cannot cut down on the cost of, so on and so forth. You're devaluing a business. You're now devaluing every business that's out there that has rental property attached to it. Every one of them. You know what nobody has asked? How many rights and remedies cases were filed in the city of Sherman, Precinct 1 in Grayson County last year? You all know what rights and remedies cases are? That's when a tenant is unhappy with their landlord. All they have to do is go to court and say, "I want to file a rights and remedies case." You know how much it can cost them? $0. It costs $0 to do that. All they have to do is fill out an affidavit of indigency. Do you know how many came in to that court last year? Anybody have an idea? Anybody want to take a guess? 0.
They probably don't know about it, right?
Absolutely not. You go talk to any tenant. I'm going to tell you right now, I have tenants in and out of that courtroom every day. They absolutely know
You
what
still
tenants'
are a
rights
landlord, he said?
I am not a landlord any longer. Mr. Dobbs, I'm the judge.
Yeah.
I'm the justice of the peace.
Yeah.
Okay. 0. That's how many cases we have filed. Now, I've actually owned multifamily property here. I actually own single family homes. I know a lot of them. And if I go to talk to them and they're unhappy with what's going on, the first thing they say is, "I'll go file rights and remedies." These people are not dumb. They know exactly what's going on. And as a tenant, they have tenants' rights. Texas is a very tenant rights state. It protects our tenants. It is not protective of landlords. Okay? They have a legal way and recourse if they are not happy with their property. That's Texas property code. I don't understand why the city needs to step in and try to step over Texas property codes and the rights and remedies we already have. They're already in place. They've been there for years and years. Why do we need to step over them now? That's somebody's job. This is not a viable way. I am more concerned about people who rent a 3-bedroom home at $800. How many landlords out here have a 3-bedroom home for $800? None. None.
Thank you, Judge.
I just have one more thing to say. Thank you, Mr. Plower. I appreciate that. It's not out there. They deserve to have 4 walls and a roof. It might not be the ones that we want, might not be the houses that we want. They deserve to have 4 walls and a roof. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Anyone else?
My name is Jason Myers, and I live at 818 South Valentine Drive. My landlords, which I rent, is Beth and Don Williams. I pay $1,300 a month rent. It's cheaper for me to rent than it is to buy a house right now. But my landlords are significant. They're great people. So I don't understand forgive me if I'm wrong, but I don't understand the complaints of some people that they have that are owners to oppose the ones that have renters. I don't know how many renters we have in this room, but probably not many. So I think y'all are doing a phenomenal job. I think the growth of Sherman is exponential. As Terry showed you, I'm a part of Leadership Sherman, and I'm extremely excited with the growth that we have here. I look at y'all as leaders. I look at what we're doing for our community, and as much as y'all get bashed, I don't think it's all deserving. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Tracy.
Good evening. Peter Tracy, 700 South Valentine. Robbie got my little note tonight about things the city needs to look into. Question I have is I drive through the neighborhood constantly finding things that are brought up like this. And there's a house next door to me that's a rental property, and the people came in and they fixed it all up. But over on North Carr Street, just to the north of me, while I was driving around, there's a house over there that has been gutted from a fire. And my question is what is the city doing about things like that, properties like that, where I don't know if it's a landlord, a homeowner, who owns that property, but it's been gutted by fire, and two lots over from that house, a brand new house is being built. And I don't know if I would move into that house with a burnout house 2 houses down from me. And then I gave Robbie a thing on fire plugs throughout the fire hydrants throughout the neighborhoods. And that's something else that, what's the city doing about all of that? So let's throw it back onto the city on some of the issues that are out there, in addition to the concerns about landlords and that. So,
Mr. Tracy.
Thank you, sir.
All right, anyone else? Okay, Linda, if you'll read F5 for us, please.
Ordinance 6692, amending the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sherman, Texas, Chapter 14, Zoning Ordinance, modifying certain existing regulations relating to residential and non-residential landscaping requirements, and the preservation and addition of plants and trees within the Sherman city limits.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
Mayor, Council, this is part 2 of the tree ordinance. You heard part 1 in December. That was the update to the subdivision ordinance. This is part 2, update to the zoning ordinance. The January 9th meeting, P&Z voted 7-0 to recommend approval of this ordinance. James Kindred from Half Associates is here to present a brief presentation on the changes in this ordinance.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, City staff. Appreciate it. I'm going to hit some of the higher brief points of the additions and updates to the ordinance. I think they're done with the purpose and intent of better serving the great growth that you're having in the city. Which way do we go? Hitting the arrow keys. Which one is it?
Let's try this. You got this one, James.
Okay. All right. So basically, a brief overview. The applicability is that it's for all new development that's going to occur, and probably redevelopment. If it completely redevelops the site, that would be considered kind of a new development as well. The updates to the existing ordinance, this will include residential trees now have to be a minimum 3-inch caliper size versus the previous 2-inch caliper size, so you're getting a better quality of tree provided. We reviewed and made edits to the approved species list, kind of made it a little bit more concise and a little bit more appropriate for the area and what's native to the area. And commercial parking lots will now be required to have trees in the islands. New requirements will be standards for planting trees and landscaping and maintenance, improvements. Street buffer trees will now be required, and compatibility buffer yards between like single-family uses and non-single-family uses. Relations to the tree ordinance that Rob mentioned was previously approved. This will now relate back and forth with the tree ordinance to the landscape requirements. Anything that's preserved or new trees that are planted can count towards these ordinance updates. We've got a lag. Here we go. So as mentioned in the parking lot landscaped areas, now there will be a shade tree required for every parking stall. Currently now none are required. Every parking stall will be required within 50 foot of a tree, so there's some shade coverage for the parking lots and the cars. Trees can be clustered for natural look and feel. They don't have to just march down the parking lot. They can be kind of clustered for more naturalistic. On the kind of a representation of what that would look like, with the shade coverage, the radius shows the shade coverage of the parking trees on the exterior, and then a 2-foot non-planted area on the back of curb will also be provided now. It serves as a dual purpose. One gives you a little bit more space for protection of trees that would be planted, as well as a step out space. Sometimes if you've got those in spots, you open the door and you're in mud or grass, and it helps kind of help the people step out as well on that. Street perimeter buffers. Now, for perimeter streets on all new developments, a 15-foot buffer adjacent to the perimeter of the streets will exist. It does not include the width of any easements, utility easements. So this 15-foot buffer will be in addition to the easement widths. Planting requirements for each 1,000 square foot of this 15-foot buffer will include 2 shade trees and 2 ornamental trees. And it can include preserved vegetation or new plantings. Then we talk about compatibility buffer yards. Again, we're talking about a 15-foot buffer yard required between single-family residential and non-single-family uses. Buffer yards shall be installed on the non-single-family site. Planting requirements per 1,000 square foot would be 1 shade tree and 2 ornamental trees. They can include preserved vegetation or new planted vegetation. Kind of shows a representation of that. You have kind of a commercial land use on the left, single-family residential on the right, and you'd have that buffer yard in between to create kind of a sound and visual buffer. That's really the finer points of the new additions and revisions to it. Again, I'll be available for any questions at the appropriate time, should there be any. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone here to address this item this evening?
Who speaks for the trees?
Okay. Mind if you read F6 for us, please?
Ordinance 6693 to amend tax increment reinvestment zone number 7.
Okay, Mary.
Yes, this ordinance amends the creation ordinance for tax increment zone number 7. That zone includes Bel Air and Legacy Village development areas. First, it extends the zone to agree with the master development agreement. It also changes the makeup of the board of directors to include the state senator and the state representative as required by the tax code. And lastly, it clarifies the increment for each development, say Bel Air stays in Bel Air.
Thank you, Mary. Is there anyone here to speak on this item this evening? Okay. If not, Mary, will you read F7 for us, please?
Ordinance 6694 to consider approving the closure and abandonment of a platted alley west of lots 7 through 10, block 1 of Post Oak Edition.
Okay. Thank you. Wayne.
Evening, Mayor, Council. So this is a request for abandonment that the city has actually made the request for. With the development of a couple of lots off of Rusk Street, it's discovered there's a public alley that the Austin Cemetery encroaches into, and Austin Cemetery also encroaches into a couple of those lots. So after abandonment of this alley, we'll then work with Copley Surveying to replat the cemetery and those 2 lots to adjust all the boundary lines.
Thank you, Wayne. Is there anyone here to speak on this item this evening? Okay. If not, we'll close public hearing and consider the adoption of the ordinances. Council, questions, discussions? Discussion on these items.
I don't remember what the first thing was.
Like number one.
One we
It's a
can-
renewal of the commercial.
F1 we
yeah.
can deal with quickly. If there's any no discussion on F1, I think that's
Okay.
something we can maybe move on fairly quickly, so I'll make a motion. Does someone have a question?
So, no, F1 relates to a resolution that we've not read the
Sorry.
caption for. We could, if you guys are okay with that, we could go ahead and read the caption and then come back to that. Is that okay, Ryan?
To H8.
Yeah,
Do
to
we have to
H8.
do them at the same time?
Can we do?
I mean, I have to approve this one first before the other.
Yeah, the F1 was just the public hearing. The
Okay.
actual action will occur in H8.
Okay.
Right.
Take that now, or you-
Okay.
Which we can
So-
take now or later.
We can do it.
Well, let's just do it now.
Yeah.
Cynthia, we read H8 for us,
H8.
please.
Resolution 7254, reauthorizing guidelines and criteria for the City of Sherman's industrial and commercial tax abatement program to promote development, redevelopment in certain areas of the city.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
2 and 3.
Council, back to 6689 would be the first proposed ordinance to consider.
And
got
Mayor,
those.
we need to consider F2 and F3 together.
Very good.
Because they're so closely related. The first one's the annexation, second one's the PD.
For transparency, I won't be voting on this. I own a neighboring property, so I don't think it's appropriate to vote.
Okay.
Does
you,
that
Con.
affect the number?
Need 6, right?
Because you have to have 6.
Well,
Supermajority vote is required for item F3 because of the denial from P&Z and the protest
I'll be
from the
voting.
landowners.
Okay.
So that requires an affirmative vote of 6 members of the council, regardless of Councilmember Teeman's abstention,
Okay.
to approve.
So if there's any discussion or questions, we need to have.
Okay. Well, I went to the community meeting, and I will say that the folks at Flato did a good job of coming and listening to the concerns of the citizens, addressing some of those concerns about two-story buildings adjacent to that back property. I'd like to ask the developer where he stands on that. Yes, sir.
Thank you, sir. So for the lots abutting the existing homes, we are prepared to make those homes single story, and we can design them in a way that the master bedroom could be on the main floor, and then the kids' bedrooms could be in the loft. So they basically looks like a single detached home. I mean, one-story home, single detached, of course, but it would feel like it's a single-story home, but the 2 bedrooms or 3 bedrooms for the kids could be tucked in upstairs. So it would not be a typical 2-story home with like big windows looking at the backyard. So
okay,
it would basically make it look like a single-story home.
Could you get those designed without any west-facing rear windows? Would that be an issue? On the second story?
So sorry, so your question is not to have the windows?
Well, on the second story, if there were no west-facing windows, then the neighbors wouldn't have anybody looking into their backyards, which I think is their concern.
Sure, we can accommodate that, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as drainage goes, I think that's been a big issue for the people in these existing neighborhoods. They are downstream. Would a downstream drainage study help alleviate the issues that are in the existing neighborhoods?
I'm not an engineer, but all the discussions we've had has been that would improve things. So,
Yeah, per our ordinance, they can't negatively impact the neighborhood. So I without the study, I can't say that they will vastly improve it, but we won't allow them to do anything that negatively impacts it. So if there is surface drainage that comes in off the west, they'll have to account for that. They don't want that in the new residents' backyards either. So they will probably account for that through a swale to bring it down to the creek. But that's all going to be engineered, designed, and approved through our engineering department to make sure. Now, the existing bar ditches and existing streets,
that's not the developer's responsibility. So if the city wanted to make improvements to that area, it's potential. But typically, in neighborhoods that were built with rural subdivisions with culverts and R ditches, we typically maintain those to the extent that they were originally designed.
Sir, with your permission, I would like to add just one quick thing. Sure. And we agreed to work with the city, and if whatever study is required, the drainage study or any technical study required to satisfy the city, we're more than happy to do it, and we will continue working with the city.
I'd like to say something about your group. I think you guys should be the standard for all interaction between developers going forward. I'm super impressed with your communication. You've listened to the citizens. You've made adjustments. No arguments. It's been phenomenal working with you guys, or at least the communication process. I did have one question. I sent an email regarding the northern section of your development where there was 40-foot single-family lots. Did we discuss considering moving those to 50 instead of 40?
Yes, sir. We agree to that as well.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That's what I was going to ask. I also have been very impressed with your willingness to accommodate. I have friends who are sitting here in the audience who have a house on Rolling Hills. Yeah, I saw you back there. I'll have to answer to you whichever way I vote. Anyway, but you have been very accommodating and considerate, and we don't normally have developers who come in are willing to work with us as much as you have been willing to work with our citizens. And I do believe this property will be developed, whether it's by you or someone else, and whoever, somebody else may come in and not be as accommodating as you have been, and trying to lead the green space and all, and that type of thing. So I appreciate your efforts.
Thank you.
on
Thank you
this.
so much. And
Thank
like I
you.
said before, we are one team. We all will work together, and the goal is the same: to come up with a great community and to do a good job. Thank you.
I see you bought some boots coming back to Texas. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Thank you. If there's no further discussion, I'd move to approve F2 and F3 as written.
And I'll second
Okay.
it.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any abstentions? One abstention.
Yes, and
Aye.
Mayor, you voted, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
council
you.
members. Appreciate it. And once again, looking forward to working with the city of Sherman. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Welcome to Sherman.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
All right, council. Where are we going to head next?
Rob, can you give us a little bit, Rob Ray, can you give us a little bit more information on 6691? There were questions about scope of this, rules, and also cost to the city, just some estimates, or can you expand?
Absolutely, and I'll ask Caleb Green to come up to talk about the types of inspections that would be occurring. But while he's walking up, I'll talk about the cost of the program. What we have in the ordinance is recommended in the ordinance would be $10 per unit for the annual registration fee. So if it's a single family home, it would be a $10 fee once a year, and that would count towards their annual inspection. If any re-inspections occurred, that would be an extra $75 fee. If we went to do an inspection and it failed, and we had to come back and do a re-inspection, then that would be a $75 charge. So it is our intent that $10 charge is minimal to allow us to start inspecting, at least. The cost of the program was brought up, and we are currently doing this right now, as you are well aware of our community improvement initiative. We're already doing this. We don't get any revenue for the inspections that we're currently doing on these problem properties. And just for the record, the intent of this is not for the good property owners. The intent of this is for the bad property owners. And that's really important. And that's what we've been focusing on this last year. And so the staff time that we're currently doing is all at the taxpayer's expense. There's no revenue for that currently. And so with that, that's kind of the price breakdown. I'll turn it to Caleb. He's in our zoning department, and he would be handling this program if it's approved tonight.
Caleb Green, Development Services Inspector. I have been currently doing things with rental property for the last almost year now. Like Rob said, it's not to punish the people that keep their properties in good shape. Unfortunately, the bad apple always ruins the bunch, and we have several bad apples. The people that have stood up here make it seem like there's not very many, but unfortunately it is. I've seen them. I've been in their homes. It's it's kind of heartbreaking when you get a phone call because someone's bathtub is full of raw sewage, and you can't do anything for them because they can't get a hold of their manager. They can't get a hold of the owner of the property. They do nothing. They don't even really know who to pay their rent to. Phone calls from a woman last summer where she said her special needs kid had been sick because because of her air conditioner had been broken for over a week, and she had been waiting for someone to fix it, and that the school had actually called CPS on her because she didn't know, and she didn't know what to do. So these are the things that we're combating. I absolutely agree that everybody deserves four walls, but everybody doesn't deserve four walls that have cockroaches running all over them. We're not asking for marble countertops and gold-plated handles. We're asking for the bare necessities. So the things that we're going to be inspecting are basically the same things in the property maintenance code, and the building code. Things that say your electrical has to be up to date, your smoke detectors have to work. Things, just these very minimal things to keep things safe. So that's where we're at. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
So, Caleb, I think it's important to point out, and of course, I know Mr. Oglesby and Wally and a few of the folks that have spoken tonight, but I think it's very important for people to understand that the children in Sherman deserve to live in a place that's not dangerous.
Absolutely agree.
I mean, the judge asked if we have any low-income homes in our neighborhood, and of course, I think she'd be surprised where I live, but I do. And I live in an area where just a few blocks away is that apartment where we have children living in those terrible, terrible conditions. But significantly, they're not the only ones living like that in our city.
Oh, absolutely not.
And people generally don't understand the level of poverty that we still have in the city of Sherman. And these good landlords here tonight, I understand where they're coming from. I own rent property too. And, it's just one thing after another, and that's not our intent. But our intent is to focus on these derelict owners, these apartments that not only are unsafe, but exceptionally unhealthy. And most don't even have water service or even power in most instances. So I guess my question to city staff is, I know as a city we have to do things fairly and appropriately and include everybody in everything we do. Is there a way to separate some of these things?
My question as well.
Are we, I guess, I don't know how to even describe what I'm trying to say other than, is there a way to, I don't know.
And currently, the way that we've been able to get to these problem properties is because they've had CO violations or not compliant COs that have allowed us to go in and do CO inspections. But unless we have some other program to be able to get in the door, the only thing that we can rely on is a tenant calling our office and us going to inspect at their permission. Otherwise, we don't have a right to go into those properties to do inspections without this program. And so we've been fortunate that we've been able to get into some of these problem properties because of CO issues, But there's other properties we can't go and inspect on that are problems because we don't have that authority to do so.
And I would add that some of these places people won't call because of when you call the property manager or the owner of the property and you say, I've gotten a call from your tenant, they aren't treated very well after the fact, you know? And it's well, they do this, they do that. It's not about the issue. It turns into essentially the blame game.
Primarily what you're talking about is multifamily projects. Is that correct? Big apartments or old apartment
So
projects?
what we've been focusing on right now is multifamily, but we have done some single family. Me and Larry have inspected some single family rental properties. And I think that the stuff that me and Larry have done is frankly just the tip of the iceberg on how bad some of these things are. We don't even necessarily have a good number on how many rent properties we have, single family, in the city of Sherman, because it's gone that unregulated.
Rob, let me ask you this. I know we had a meeting, a 3-on-1 last week with you, and the 3 council members had requested you provide us with some alternative language to eliminate single-family residences from the international, what's it called, the IMPC, and
Property maintenance code.
property maintenance code, and the rental program, since that would affect literally every single citizen in Sherman, and would be creating basically an overlying HOA over top of every single home in the city. And I think we had some concerns with some things with that. So were you able to provide that additional language today so that we could, if we so choose to motion on the multifamily projects, we can without including the single family?
Yeah, I did double check on the rental program, or the rental residential rental program. We could parcel out the multifamily units from the single family units. And that's something, whether the property maintenance code can be subdivided into this part we can enforce and this, I don't know. I don't have the answer to that today. Not sure if either Ryan or Larry can provide.
I know I talked to Ryan earlier. I believe we can do it, but I just didn't know if you had any specific language you would like for us to use to make your job a little easier.
I don't at this time, no.
Yeah. So since the residential rental properties is reliant on the International Property Code maintenance, correct? You can't have one without the other. If we could exclude single-family residential from International Property Code maintenance, by default, it would exclude it from the rental program. Is that correct?
Ryan?
I think you can have one program without the other. They're not interdependent in that way. But it's your ordinance, and so whatever you want to see in the ordinance.
So could we exclude? I don't want to put every homeowner in Sherman underneath the kind, caring understanding, but still proverbial government thumb of the International Property Code maintenance. But I do think if someone has a rental property that is, I'm interested in, okay, if you need a tool in your toolbox, it takes care of some of these horrific conditions. But I don't want to cast the net over the entire city and every homeowner in the city of Sherman. That seems like a bridge too far. And when we're talking about parceling out single family, like this is a vast increase in governmental power. And I don't know if I want to go from 0 to 100. So removing single family from all of this and running with multifamily above 5 units, I think is a compromise. Just legally, can we do it?
I was in the meeting the other day, and believe me, we started at 2:15 and ended at 4:45. So we are very well versed in this now. Out of the meeting, I would like to recommend that for 1 year, because it is going to be a lot to get started, that we make an addendum, or however you say, that we do not include single family to give our staff a chance to catch up. I do live where there are substandard structures. Within 2 blocks of my house, there is a lady who cannot use her doors. She crawls through the window to get into her home. That is a safety hazard. And she could call, but to my knowledge, she has not called. I also have in my district an apartment complex where there's only one way out of the room. If the fire starts at the front, everyone will die because there is no rear exit or any rear windows or side windows. So this is a safety concern for me. And I know that it seems like a hardship for some of you gentlemen who are here who must be phenomenal landlords. And we don't want to inspect you. But the government doesn't allow us to, take you, the good guys, and put you in this pot and label who are the bad guys that we need to check. And that's our problem that we've got. So my recommendation is to give us a year of breathing to let you get the apartments taken care of first, is that we eliminate single family for 1 year, and then in 1 year we come back and review this again and see how well the program is working.
And I'm sorry, Ryan, just to clarify, did you say that they aren't interdependent on each other? Could we pass the residential rental property and not pass the property code maintenance?
That's my belief.
Yeah, it wasn't my understanding that it was my understanding that they were interconnected. And so that's why we included, that's why I made my comment.
You can pass it that way and then.
I personally prefer to just hold on both and not for any other reason than if you do the rental program, then basically you're putting them in the bucket, but you have no enforcement. It's kind of there's no reason to do it. You have nothing to look for.
Yeah, I mean, either you cut all single family out of both of them.
Right.
I'm not interested in property code maintenance at all for homeowners.
Yeah, if it's possible, a motion could be made based on Ryan's comment. A motion could be made that the property maintenance code and the residential rental program not apply to single family homes, family uses.
Caleb, that'd give you a chance to find the iceberg.
Caleb, could you speak real quick as to what would trigger? I know the question was brought up as to what would trigger an inspection.
So right now, the way the ordinance is written, we would do a yearly inspection. It's possible that we could change that to be complaint based. If there's 1,000 different options that we could do. But right now, the way it's written is you would register with the city, provide your landlord's information, the owner's information, if there's a management company or a local contact, because we keep it to where if you don't live 50 miles away from this city, you have to establish a local contact, because we do have a lot of people that live without the state, California, New Jersey, and you can't get a hold of them. And then they would pay their fee, and then we would schedule an inspection with them. There's also a paragraph in here that before moving in, that the landlord has to do an inspection with the tenant. We will actually provide them a form where they both sign saying these things work, these things are good. And they sign, and the landlord has to keep that on record. So, going into it, we know that these things are where you want them to be, as a tenant, and as for a landlord as well. So,
and in the annual inspections, the way that the ordinance is written is may be required every year. If there are apartment complexes that are just solid and always, we might not get to them every year. We want to focus on the problem properties first. And if we can, we would inspect them every year, but we might not have the resources to do that every year.
What if somebody signs a lease and then re-signs another lease and they're not moving out? They're going to be there for 2 years. Do they have to let you in after a year to look at their occupied apartment if they don't want you there?
I'm not sure I understand.
If I'm a tenant and I sign a lease for a year and it gets inspected, and then I live there for a year and I think, hey, this is a great place, I want to live here for another year, do I still have to get an inspection for the second year?
That unit?
It's not necessarily based on the tenant. It's based on the property.
So maybe part of the conversation is the intent isn't to inspect every single unit every single year, or is it?
That's correct. We would.
Yeah.
But that's not the intent.
That's not realistic.
So
About moving out, instead of it being inspected every year, inspect every time someone moves out before someone can move in. But then I was listening to the gentleman said, how long is it going to take? So I did hear you.
Yeah,
and
we're
so
just not going to have the staff to.
That's why I was
right
asking.
now there are about 5,000 multifamily units in the city, And to Miss Hampton's point, we don't have enough people to do 5,000, even multifamily. So it's going to have to be on a complaint basis or on a spot basis where we're checking, so many of them in a 300 unit apartment. So I think what I'm hearing is an appetite not to do single family residential for both the property maintenance code and the residential rental.
Yes,
that's
thing.
right.
I would be willing. I would be willing to entertain it at say over 5 units. So
5 or over.
5 or over
On a single property.
Yeah.
Platted property.
Yeah. You own property management.
Any
I'd like
comments?
the property maintenance to be included, but then have the addendum that we don't do 1 to 4.
Yeah, I mean for both, if it's over 5 units on a single property, I think we've
Yes.
eliminated 97% of rental owners. Would you agree with that, sir?
Yeah.
But
And then-
there's one other thing though. If we eliminate the residential rental, you're still gonna have the bad ones.
That's true. But
Some bad ones.
And then what if because as a city, the inspectors are gonna recognize the good ones, you guys. And I mean, why are we gonna bother them again for another $10?
well, if someone's a bad one and they don't care about their tenants living in squalor and their tenants crawling through the window, why are they going to care about registering for this program and giving us our $10? They're just not going to. So the only people that we've netted now are the people who agree to come into the program and pay the $10.
I would say that the word of getting this out to let the tenants know that this is a program, that the landlord has to sign up for these things. They will reach out to the city. They will ask if their landlord is signed up because they do have these problems.
Well, and I would recommend if we're talking about pulling the single family from the property maintenance code and the rental program, that maybe we send some communication to our single family homes through a water bill and just let them know what their rights are if they're tenants, and just let them know have the conversation of what your rights currently already are.
I agree with that.
An education
I don't
piece.
think everybody really does know their rights. I can't sit here and say I support that. There's no way.
Plus, I think, I'm sorry, Darren, let me get you off.
Well, I agree, but some type of way we need to get them that information so that they do know their rights.
Judge Hampton
Now,
may be able to help us craft something.
I don't know about that.
I think we
but-
can handle it.
I
Zach,
would like to approve both of them
can
with
I
the
ask Zach?
addendum.
Okay. All right, just a moment. Zach, when you guys investigated the apartments over that we saw on the screen a couple of meetings ago, do you see that kind of condition in a lot of our single family rentals?
Yeah, so I have to say, just to go back to my time as a police officer, you go into a lot of houses, you don't know necessarily if they're rented or not. And to your point earlier, there are several. So I couldn't say that they're all on rentals, but I would say that there are several residences in Sherman that are in poor shape. A percentage, I don't know. But yeah, there are several that are in poor shape.
Well, look, if we can run a program for 5 units or more for a year, we can figure out what the unintended consequences may or may not be from this program.
Yep.
And craft a program that can better address the concerns of the property owners, the good property owners, and give ourselves some time to sort of work out the kinks rather than go everything at once. And I would support that.
Okay. So you were about to make a motion?
I will make a motion. Hold on, now we've talked so much, I got to go back and figure out where I am. Okay, I would like to make a motion on F4, number 6691. Alrighty, that we approve of the property maintenance and management, and we approve of rental units with the addendum. Hold it. I have to and delete sections 304.2 and 305.2 with the addendum that we only do inspections for the next year on properties of 5 or more units,
On single property.
on single properties. Did I say it correctly? Help me make sure I said it right.
So just a couple questions. You said inspections. Does that mean the rentals would be required to register, but just not allowed to be inspected, or just not a part of the rental registration
I would
scheme at all?
say not a part
Just
of the
taking them out for a
registration.
year.
We're just removing.
That's your
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then
But what, I should clarify.
Single
Single family.
Single
Single
family.
families, but we want them to be able to be inspected. The way I said it, you may not be able to inspect them at all, and I don't want that in there. You know, if you get a complaint, how do I word?
Oh, they can
I'm
do
sorry.
that. They can do that now.
Okay,
Yeah,
I
with
just
our-
want to make
with our
sure
current ordinances.
that with the way I'm saying that.
Okay.
Okay, so just to clarify the motion, so you would want to exclude from the rental registration scheme properties that have 4 or fewer units on a single lot or parcel, and also to exclude from the International Property Maintenance Code provisions those same properties that are being currently used as a property with 4 or fewer dwelling units on a single lot or parcel.
Yes.
Yes.
Is that your motion?
That's right.
1 year.
Okay.
And if-
We'll
and-
relook at
and
it.
in 1 year, we will
We'll-
review.
We'll reevaluate.
Right.
Yep. Rob, is that clear?
That's
Yep.
clear.
Okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay.
I can live with that for a year.
Okay.
Need a second.
Well, that's the motion.
Rest of the
That's my
action.
motion. I
Okay.
think we got the wording right
Do we
now.
have a second?
Second.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right.
Was there other stuff?
Where are we at?
We're not done.
Jeez.
No, we're not, are we? Yeah, we're on trees.
Five.
We're on trees.
I speak for the trees. Move to approve F5 as
Second.
written.
Motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you, council.
Who was the second on that one, Mayor? Thank you.
And what was 6693? That's the
That's the
TERS.
TERS.
Bill Air TERS.
Yeah.
Yes.
I move to approve 6693.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right.
The alley.
The alleyway. Who wants to?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Hey, we got to page 3.
All right.
Wow.
Okay. So we'll get down to our resolutions now. Linda, if you'll read H1 and H2 together, please.
Resolution 7247, awarding a bid to All Terrain Capital LLC for the conveyance of approximately 0.5508 acres of land generally located at 1400 West Taylor Street, authorizing execution of necessary transaction documents. Resolution 7248, authorizing execution of a development agreement between the City of Sherman and All Terrain Capital LLC for certain trail improvements, conveyance of a 1.9 acre tract of land from All Terrain Capital LLC to the City of Sherman, and other matters involving property generally located at 1400 West Taylor Street.
Thank you, Linda. Rob?
I'm not done yet, Mayor, Council. I have one more.
Okay.
All right, this is a project. The Sherman Park Apartments is a multifamily complex located across from Fairview Park, adjacent to the Taylor Street Gym. As part of this development, they would like to purchase the triangle piece of land that is on the corner. I got a pointer. Right here. On February 20th, we posted this land for sale. The developer provided an offer of constructing an 1,800 linear foot trail, hike and bike trail, that would connect Taylor Street to McGee Street. The estimated cost of the trail would be $155,000. They would place that trail as part of the second item, the developer agreement. They would place the cost of that trail in an escrow that would be guaranteed that if they did not construct phase 2 of that development, that the city would be able to use those funds to construct that trail. Staff and the developer have already gone through with Encore to get an encroachment easement for that the power line easement that they have there. So we already have approval for that. And the developer would also convey 1.9 acres of land to us, to the city of Sherman. where the current Encore easement is located. Happy to answer any questions that you might have and hopefully approval.
All right, council, questions, discussion on these two items?
Move to approve 7247, 7248.
Second. Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right, Linda, if you'll read H3 for us.
Resolution 7249, awarding a bid to and authorizing execution of a contract with W. Brown Enterprises Incorporated based on an invitation to bid for the West Side Sanitary Sewer Replacement.
Okay, thank you. Tom? Good evening, Tom.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. So this project was one of the top 3 major priority projects by the utility department. And we finally have that engineered, and we advertised it for bids back in December 24th. Opened bids a couple of weeks ago, and we had 5 responsive bidders. The low bid being W. Brown Enterprises out of Durant. This is the first project that we've done with them that I know of, and our engineers have done bidders' references and qualifications checks, and they've been found to be responsible bidders. So with council approval, would like to award it to W. Brown Enterprises. Contract is for 210 days.
Tom, I'm just curious, and I know we're going to have a few of these things on here tonight for different projects, but this 757, whatever, that includes the contingency that we build into these contracts now?
It does. 80,000.
Thank you.
I believe it's 80,000.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Linda, if you'll read H4 for us, please.
Resolution 7250, authorizing execution of a discretionary service agreement with Encore Electric Delivery Company, LLC, for the relocation of overhead electric supply along Shepherd Drive.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Wayne?
Evening again. So this discretionary service agreement with Encore is to relocate over 4,300 feet of overhead electric lines on the south side of Shepherd. The electric company had a exclusive easement across the property out here, and our right-of-way widening enveloped that area, and so that they're requesting funding to move that out of our way to build our road.
Wayne, as a general Encore question, can we, seems like we ought to be getting some of this put underground throughout the city instead of on poles. What?
Well, they would request a lot more money to do that.
Okay.
Like a lot more.
A lot more.
Like double more? Triple
more than
more?
double. I've run those numbers in the past. They're way more than double.
It makes me proud to hear you blush at how much money something costs.
Okay.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Wayne.
I think they beat us down, so it's just this.
Yeah. You start calling those two the money twins.
Oh, man.
All right. Linda, if you'll read H5 for us.
Resolution 7251, authorizing execution of a professional services agreement with Mead and Hunt Incorporated for the Post Oak Wastewater Treatment Facilities TPDES permitting assistance.
All right. Thank you. Tom?
Good evening again. So yes, that's short for National Pollution or Texas Pollution Discharge Elimination System. It is a state requirement that the wastewater treatment plant has to have a discharge permit to discharge wastes. This one, the permit is renewed every 5 years, but it is undertaken at the 4-year because it is about a year process to get that done. And so we're a year out. It will also include a minor amendment, which will account for the next phase of the wastewater treatment plant improvements.
All right. Council, any questions about the TPDES plan permitting assistance?
Move to approve
Okay.
7251.
Second.
All right. Motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. All right. Linda, if you'll read H6 for us, please.
Resolution 7252, approving the Greater Texoma Utility Authority's intention to award bid package 08-001 to Kiewit Water Facilities South for the process mechanical at the South Wastewater Treatment Plant.
Thank you.
So this time it's really getting real, right? This is for the process mechanical. We advertised and opened bids. We have one bidder that submitted a bid, that being Kiewit Water Facilities. They are very qualified to do the work. We went on ahead and went through the scoring process with our project management team, Pate Dawson, with our engineers, plumber, and the city, and through Greater Texoma Utility Authority. So we all went on ahead and went through the scoring process. It was approved this afternoon through GTUA, and this award would be concurrent to their award. If y'all have any questions, I will.
How much, Tom?
36,267,000 and change.
Tom, you're asking us for $36 million. I know. I just have to ask. Okay? Now, this was in line with the budgeted amount that we put out for, and this is the funding. It doesn't tell me the financial consideration. This funding has already been approved by us for this fiscal year or next fiscal year to start paying for the bond package through GTUA.
That's correct. It is. Okay. It is currently within our budget.
Okay, and this was within the budget scope of what we planned on this project.
Good question. We originally we had a 30% bid estimate from. Corey, do you remember what how we stand, or Hugh?
Yeah, we evaluated it. There was in the bandwidth of a class 3 estimate.
Correct. Right, class 3, which is like a plus or minus a certain percentage.
It's within the plus or minus on this one.
Right.
Okay.
So basically, it was the cost of work and the rest.
Okay, now they're doing another project for us, correct?
Yeah.
Right. So we've been with the dirt work or the site work. Let's see. We've also done the concretes. Let's see. This is probably okay. We've done early procurement, grading, backfill, underground. Well, we're going to do underground piping next.
Sure. Okay.
And the concrete, we're doing that one. And currently we have out for bids the above ground electrical.
Okay, perfect.
Well, yeah, so if you remember, this is kind of a progressive bid because of the tight schedule on trying to be done by April of 25. We've bid out portions when they needed to be bid out and allowed our design team to design progressively.
Right.
So this isn't your traditional design it to 100%, then bid it out. We bid out the site first because we got information on that. The next was the critical path was the concrete, and so it's a progressive bid. Hopefully, we don't ever have to do this again because we'll have more time on other projects. But this is very unique to what we've done in the past, but is necessary in order to meet the schedule that we have.
Well, considering this is one of the smaller items on our agenda tonight, I'll go ahead and vote that we pass.
Second.
Page 7.
Okay.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right. We are to H7.
So similar to the process mechanical, this is for the underground piping package. So as a part of the progressive GMP or the progressive guaranteed maximum price process, we put out several different bid packages. This is the underground piping bid package. And so it includes chemical feed lines, potable water systems, drainage lines, waste activated sludge systems. And it has a whole lot of different systems that have all kinds of piping involved with that. This one is in the amount of $53,723,000 and some more change.
Do I need to read the caption? Okay. Approving the Greater Texoma Utility Authority's intention to award bid package 05-002 to Kiewit Water Facility South for the underground piping and appurtenances at the South Wastewater Treatment Plant. Okay. Questions, discussion, council?
Sorry about that.
No, no worries.
Same
You got it.
questions for me. Are we within scope and budget? And it's already planned for funding through our current year
Correct.
budget.
And it was awarded this afternoon by the Greater Texas Home and Utility Authority.
Oh.
So this is concurrent to that.
Just in general, not specific to this, just as an aside, are we still on track for April 2025?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the critical path was the concrete, and we've awarded that a while back.
Okay, thank you. Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
And a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're to H9, appointing and authorizing the city manager to negotiate an agreement with Patillo Brown and Hill LLP to perform the fiscal year 2023 audit, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate a termination agreement with Forvis. Mary?
Yes, the city and Forbes, our current auditors, have been unable to come to an agreement on the application of an accounting standard as it relates to our payments to G2A. After consulting with our financial advisor and our bond counsel, the city has decided to terminate the agreement with Forbes and appoint Patillo Brown and Hill as our auditors for our 2023 year.
Okay, thank you, Mary. Anything to add, Ryan?
No, I think.
Okay.
Well,
The audit committee met as well before this and had the recommendation to approve this as well, just for the entire council's benefit.
Very good.
I'll make a motion to approve 7255.
Second.
First and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, council. All right. H10, authorizing execution of an amended and restated collateral assignment of the Master Development Agreement by RCICD Heritage Ranch LLC for the benefit of First United Bank and Trust Company. Robbie?
Yes, in our agreements with Heritage Ranch, it requires them to get council approval anytime they make amendments to their lending agreements with their lenders. Of course, their lender, as it states here, is First United Bank, and they're making a change to it. So this just requires, it's administrative on our part, but requires our blessing for them to be able to change any aspects of it. No financial impact to the city, just administrative.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. All right.
Linda abstained from that vote.
Okay, one abstention. All right, we're to I2. If you'll remember, we removed this from consent, so we could talk about it a little bit. Requesting authorization to advertise for public bids to redesign the City of Sherman website. Nate, good evening.
Well, thank you, Mayor and Council. At the risk of being shot on sight, I was the one that requested that this item be removed from the consent agenda tonight on our marathon meeting, because I wanted you guys to know what we're working on. The process of redesigning a website is not quick. It takes a long time to find the right company and to actually go through that process. But we started that process a couple months ago at the request of Robbie and Zach to really move our website from the 2010s into the 2030s. And so this is the first step in that process. We won't have a new website probably for about a year, but we did want to let you guys know that we are working on it and that you can expect an item coming at some point in the future for setting aside monies to do so.
Okay, very good. Also, any questions about this request?
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Thank you, Nate. All right. We're gonna
letters today.
discuss and consider approval of the budget calendar for fiscal year 2024-2025. I think everybody has one at their spot.
Get one. And you get one of those.
So Robbie, I think I told you my only concern is that the June 13th, 14th is I'm out of town that week, but I can zoom in if needed.
We'll get stuff done if he's uptown.
Yeah,
right.
Ask you about. Hold on. Now that 0.02 interest rate. Let's go over that.
So we do have some flexibility in the schedule. We could do it the following week. Other input from the council about availability. Well, first of all, is the workshop the only conflict, Sean?
That's my only conflict.
Okay. Anybody else? I guess maybe take it from the top. Anybody have a conflict with April 19th for the budget planning meeting?
No, sir. I set my calendar around your budget.
The CIP work program, May 23rd, which is a Thursday. That good?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Budget workshop. Then we typically do these in one day. We allow for two in case, but I've got one input about the 13th and 14th not working. What's your pleasure on that? Move it a week or
move it to the 20th?
That works for me.
Yep.
24th.
Okay, 20th. We'll do 20 and 21 with the idea that we'll just use 21 as a backup.
Justin, you're gonna be in the country those days.
The April 19th, I might not be able to make. So, but that's fine. I can make the June ones.
Okay. All right. So would like maybe a motion to approve April 19th, May 23rd, and June 20th and 21st. And then the other dates are just regular council meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We have our calendar. Okay.
Somebody
guess
sent
that's
out
it.
for dinner yet?
I think we've reached the end of the road.
We're gonna have to feed the crowd too.
Dobbs didn't say anything. I'm shocked.
Hear my
He's usually
stomach
the food
growling?
guy.
All right, so
I interrupted.
council
Go ahead,
comments.
Mr. Mayor.
Henry, you got any council comments for us?
No comments.
No comments.
No comments.
No comments.
No comment.
I just got a few things.
Oh.
No comments.
All right.
Oh,
So
man.
quickly, just a few announcements. I want to heartily congratulate our tourism and Main Street manager, Sarah McRae, for winning Community Leader of the Year from the Sherman Chamber of Commerce last week. Yeah, Sarah and her staff do such a great job putting on events in our city. It's well deserved. So if you see her, congratulate her. Believe it or not, we're only 2 months from announcing our lineup from Hot Summer Nights 2024. We have some amazing bands in store this summer, so be sure and catch that. We'll be announcing the lineup on April 5th in the Sherman Municipal Ballroom. So it's going to be a great year for music once again. And finally, tonight, join us Tuesday, February 13th from 5 to 8 at the Old Iron Post for the Sherman X Students Mardi Gras Party. Enjoy live music, beads, and a silent auction benefiting the X Students Association. Should be a great night.
What date is that day?
The date of that is February 13th. Coming up. All right. So with no executive session.
Motion.
Okay. All right. We are adjourned.
Yay.